This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
Remember when we talked about fluoride and other chemicals in water affecting our health and the environment? Well, that's not the whole story. There's another big issue harming aquatic life and ecosystems. Tiny traces of pharmaceuticals are ending up in rivers, lakes, and oceans. And it's not just the fish being exposed to these unexpected drugs. They make their way back into our drinking water, too.
Pharmaceutical pollution often comes from us, or more specifically, what leaves our bodies. According to the Swedish Society for Nature Conservation, most people don't realize pharmaceuticals pass through our bodies into wastewater, where they aren't fully cleaned. About 30 to 90% of the medicines we take aren't absorbed by our bodies and end up in the environment. Pharmaceuticals are designed to resist breaking down, both in packaging and in our bodies, which means they end up in nature. Some may even be absorbed by wildlife or bacteria. Topical treatments like creams are even worse, with only 5 to 6% being absorbed by the body, while the rest rinses off. Flushing medicines down toilets or drains adds to water pollution, but that's not the only problem. Hospitals and pharmaceutical factories also release drug residues into water systems, and farms are another big contributor. Did you know more than half of the world's antibiotics are used in agriculture? Chemicals from manure and fertilizers often find their way into rivers, too. For example, a study in Wisconsin connected manure use in fields to antibiotic resistance genes in nearby waterways. Antibiotic contamination is a big health risk, as it leads to antimicrobial resistance. With continued exposure to antibiotics, bacteria can develop resistance and spread, leading to serious problems. According to the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control, about 33,000 people in Europe lose their lives each year due to antibiotic resistance.
I bet you didn't know our rivers are full of antibiotics. Here's why you should care. Recently, concerning levels of antibiotics have been found in rivers worldwide. We're talking major contamination. This isn't just bad news for the fish. When rivers are polluted with antibiotics, bacteria in the water can become resistant. And you guessed it, these superbugs can make their way to us. How did this happen? Blame it on improper disposal of medications and agricultural runoff. Yikes! This means every time we misuse antibiotics, we're adding to the problem. But don't worry, there's hope. We can start by properly disposing of medications and supporting sustainable farming practices. So let's keep our rivers clean and our antibiotics effective. Tiny actions can lead to big changes. Let's make a splash for a healthier planet.
Chemicals from pharmaceuticals are showing up in rivers, lakes, and groundwater at an alarming rate. The U.S. Geological Survey says up to 80% of streams in the U.S. are contaminated. The variety of these persistent compounds makes them tough to regulate and clean up. A recent study from the University of York highlighted alarming pollution levels in rivers across England's national parks. Medications like antidepressants, antibiotics, and diabetes treatments have been found in the water at 52 out of the 54 river locations studied. In some cases, the levels of pharmaceuticals detected were high enough to harm freshwater organisms and even people who come into contact with the water. Certain drugs, like hormones and antidepressants, are particularly harmful to aquatic life. Hormones from oral contraceptives, for example, have caused intersex mutations in fish and amphibians, disrupting their ability to reproduce and threatening biodiversity. Meanwhile, studies from Australia and the Niagara River in the U.S. show that antidepressants like Prozac and Zoloft are building up in fish and other aquatic species. This is altering their behavior, reproduction, and overall health, though the full extent of this damage is still uncertain.
If your fish looks happier than you, it's probably on Prozac. Yes, you heard that right. Welcome to the Prozac ponds, folks. Our fishy friends are now the unintended patients of human antidepressants. Researchers found fluoxetine, the active ingredient in Prozac, in lakes and rivers. And it's a real splash in the fish community. These finned Prozac poppers are experiencing some wild side effects. Male guppies are growing. Well, let's just say their mating equipment is getting a little extra attention. But here's the kicker. While they might look more attractive, their sperm mobility takes a dive. So, it's like having a fancy sports car with no gas. 0 to 60 in, never. Even low levels of this stuff can mess with our aquatic buddies. The energy they spend flaunting their new assets leaves them with less for, survival. So next time you flush a pill, remember, our fish might just start scheduling therapy sessions. Stay tuned for more fishy tales.
Unfortunately, most wastewater treatment plants can't fully remove these pharmaceutical compounds because of their complex chemical structures, leaving them in our water. Wastewater treatment plants are outdated when dealing with modern chemical threats. They're designed to kill bacteria and filter out solid waste, but they're not equipped to tackle pharmaceuticals like antidepressants. Experts from the Swedish Knowledge Center for Pharmaceuticals and the Environment suggest a whole life cycle approach to tackle pharmaceutical pollution. This means looking at everything from creating eco-friendly green medications to smarter prescription practices and proper disposal methods. What can we do? For starters, we can all be more mindful about medications. Follow dosage instructions carefully. Avoid self-medicating and dispose of unused drugs at designated collection points. Don't flush them down the toilet or toss them in the trash. Those habits just make the problem worse. Farmers and veterinarians also have a part to play by reducing the use of antibiotics in farming and safely managing treated animal waste. Meanwhile, healthcare professionals and pharmacists can step up by educating patients about how their choices affect the environment.
Prescription drugs are poisoning our drinking water. Our own U.S. government acknowledges thousands of these prescription drugs are found in our water, and there are no regulations for water treatment plants to filter any of it out. Nobody would walk into a pharmacy and say, yeah, I'd like to take a low dose of everything you have on shelf for the rest of my life. These are endocrine disruptors that will change your hormones, antibiotics, contraceptives. As a man, I certainly don't want to take female birth control, and think about babies and children who are that much more sensitive to all of these substances. No study has ever been done on the long-term effects of chronic exposure to thousands of prescription drugs. Do you want to take the risk? Literally, it's changing the sex of some fish. The only way to protect you and your family is to get an under-the-sink reverse osmosis system. Unfortunately, charcoal systems do not filter out prescription drugs as well. You can get a reverse osmosis system for under your kitchen sink for right around $150 to $250. It is well worth the money. It's up to you to protect your own health.
Every year, more medicines end up in the environment due to rising consumption, changing medical practices, and even farming methods. It's a growing issue, and we need sustainable solutions for pharmaceutical pollution. After all, our health is deeply interconnected with the environment, and it's on us to protect both.
A New Jersey beekeeper is dedicated to producing and selling honey while funding research to tackle the challenges of beekeeping. UNN Field Messenger Amy interviews him to learn about his mission and passion.
Field Messenger Amy reporting from Newton, New Jersey for UNN. And today we're going to meet with beekeeper Pat, who's also an educator, and he has a shop where he makes honey and candles. So come on with me and let's go see what Pat has to share with us today.
My dad and I started keeping bees as a hobby, and so I started selling honey. For every jar of honey I sell, I can tried to fund a little bit of research, try to answer some of those questions from those beekeepers that I'm dealing and talking to. And that's the real mission here. That's what I really want to do. I want to do good in that way, while also doing well for myself and, providing for a livelihood here in the great state of New Jersey. So the different products that I have here at my small store. I did a bit of traveling over the winter and last August to Florida, Maine, and even Ireland. And when I was in Florida, I met a guy who does comb honey. So comb honey is honey as the bees know it, cookie cuttered out, and then put into a box.
So that's just what comes out of the hive.
That is. So this is a eucalyptus honey from Australia, which is, I really get like the eucalyptus taste. So propolis is kind of the external immune system of the honeybee. So it's like a gum or glue that they collect from plant secretions. And then they bring back into the hive. I have about 200 hives of bees here in northern New Jersey, mostly Sussex County. But then I also carry different honeys. So I have my blueberry, my basswood, my eucalyptus, my orange blossom. I work with beekeepers up and down the East Coast now. They're much larger operations. So, for example, the guy that I buy all my beeswax from, he has about 12,000 hives in New York. The honey that I have here, this is blueberry honey from South Jersey. The beekeeper down there, his business and focus is bringing bees into blueberry orchards, pollinating those blueberry bushes. They're making a honey because that blueberry bush is inviting that bee to that flower with the nectar. That nectar is brought back to the hive and honey is made. Honey is made by dehydrating that nectar, adding some enzymes, and tapping it over. Before leaving that orchard, all the honey is harvested and then sold to Patrick. Honeybee production and honey production. I have about 4 to a pallet of colonies, and then each of these boxes, this one is called a nucleus colony. These are production colonies. These have 10 frames in them. These have 5 frames in them. See them there?
Yep.
There's a plastic foundation. These are actually completely plastic frames. Those were wooden frames. And the bees draw that comb out. And they build that wax comb. And then they put whatever they need in that comb. So this darker area here is where brood was raised. Now brood is really the young of the honeybee. And then on the outside, the top is where the honey is stored. And between the two, the pollen is stored. So pollen is protein, and honey is the calories, the energy of the hive.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Iodine is a tiny nutrient with a big role in keeping us healthy. It's essential for our thyroids, helping to regulate hormones that control everything from metabolism to overall development. Unfortunately, iodine deficiency is still a concern in many parts of the world.
According to the National Institutes of Health, or NIH, certain groups are more vulnerable to iodine deficiency despite global efforts to reduce it. People who do not use iodized salt remain at risk, particularly in regions like Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Eastern Europe, where iodine insufficiency continues. Pregnant women require more iodine, but surveys show many in the United States do not consume enough. Vegans and those who avoid dairy, seafood, and eggs might miss out on key iodine sources. Regions with iodine-deficient soils like mountainous areas, such as the Himalayas, Alps, and Andes regions, and river valleys prone to flooding, especially in South and Southeast Asia, also pose risks if local crops lack iodine. Also, consuming foods with goitrogens like soy and leafy green vegetables can impair iodine uptake, especially in areas already low in iodine. However, for those with adequate iodine intake, these foods generally do not raise concerns.
There's virtually no iodine whatsoever in the average American diet. So many people, when they just start using an iodine supplement like Lugol solution, they magically feel better. They're like, no, you don't understand. It's like a light came on in my brain. These are quotes that I've heard from patients. I've had cold hands and cold feet for the last 20 years. I don't have that anymore. It's like a veil has been lifted off my eyes. It's like I can think clearly now. All this stuff I hear. Because doctors think, and most patients think, that there are only iodine receptors in the thyroid gland. That the thyroid, that's all that uses iodine. Not true at all. There are iodine receptors in the brain. There are iodine receptors in the gonads, in the breast tissue, all over the body. The entire body needs iodine.
Iodine is super important for getting your thyroid in check because it helps produce those all-important hormones that keep your growth and development on track. Plus, it's essential for healthy metabolism, which means it affects your energy levels and how you manage your weight. For moms-to-be and babies, iodine is key for brain development, and not getting enough can lead to cognitive issues. It also gives your immune system a boost, thanks to its ability to fight off bacteria and pathogens. On top of that, it helps detox your body by getting rid of toxins like heavy metals. And if you want healthy skin, hair, and nails, iodine's your friend. Without it, you might end up with dry skin and brittle hair. So how do you know if you have iodine deficiency? You might not notice if your iodine levels are low, but a urine test is the best way to check. Your doctor can also do a blood test to make sure your thyroid hormones are normal. One sign of iodine deficiency is a goiter, or enlarged thyroid gland, which can be hard to spot early, especially in kids. But you can check for early signs of iodine deficiency at home.
There's a really simple way to determine if you're deficient in iodine. Simply go to your local drugstore and get a little bottle of iodine and some cotton balls. And then what you do is you take a little iodine, put it on a cotton ball, and rub it either on the inside of your upper arm or your forearm or the inside of your leg, roughly in about a 2-inch diameter. Now, make sure it doesn't touch your other clothes because it can stain your other clothes. And you could put a Band-Aid over it if you want. But if you're deficient, within 1 hour, it'll be gone. The stain will be gone because your skin absorbs it. So if after an hour it's still like orangish yellow, then you're usually not deficient.
Unfortunately, our bodies cannot produce their own iodine. This means we must take it from external sources such as food or supplements. Some of the best dietary sources of iodine include sea vegetables such as kelp and seaweed, dairy products, eggs, and fish. In many countries, iodized salt is a convenient and common source available. However, in the U.S., salt iodization isn't mandatory, so only about half of the table salt is iodized, and most of it isn't good for you. When choosing an iodine supplement, think about how you want to take it. There are capsules and tinctures, so choose what fits into your routine. Quality matters, so go for products that come from brands open about their ingredients, who trust their stuff for purity. Watch out for any allergens or unnecessary extras that might mess with your health.
I oftentimes say, stop using bleached table salt. This stuff is processed, refined, and has anti-caking agents in here. But a lot of people say, Bobby, where am I supposed to get my iodine from? Not from this salt. There's way better alternatives. One serving of seaweed has 30% of your daily value of iodine, plus packed in polyphenol antioxidant-rich olive oil. Yes, please. 1 cup of milk has 100% of your daily value of iodine. And 1 cup of yogurt has 50% of your daily value of iodine. Eat 2 eggs, you just have 32% of your daily value of iodine. And if you're still looking to supplement, you can find high-quality iodine reinforced with kelp. Bottom line, do you need iodine? Yes. Do you want to get it from bleach processed table salt? No.
Fixing an iodine deficiency isn't just about upping your iodine intake. Getting the right amount is important because overdoing it can cause problems too. Everyone's biochemistry is unique, so it's essential to find that balance. Consulting with a health professional who understands the bigger picture can help you figure out whether you need iodine supplements and in what amounts, all while keeping an eye on your progress.
A young entrepreneur in India is collaborating with local farmers to develop hemp-based products. UNN Field Messenger Chitrezyor Thaudam interviews him to learn more about the value of hemp.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chitrezyor Thaudam. I'm Field Messenger reporting for United Network News. I'm at Kumaon right now, Uttarakhand. I came all the way from my state, Manipur, to introduce a wonderful person who is working with hemp for the last many years. Let's go and meet him.
I'm working at 2,000 meters above sea levels, and I work from and above 1,600, 1,500 meters above sea level up to 4,000 meters above sea level in Uttarakhand in the Himalayan region in the hemp value chain. So we are focusing on two things. One is hemp seed and the other thing is hemp fiber. So these two things we focus on. And we work with the community. So most of the raw material, 100% of the hemp seed and the hemp fibers that we work with is sourced and procured locally from the local farmers. We work with more than 2,000 farmers in and around 4 districts of Uttarakhand currently, Almora, Bageshwar, Nainital and Pithoragarh districts. I've been doing this now since 2019. It started as a college project back in Tata Institute of Social Sciences made for me. And then I made it into a full-time enterprise in 2021. My thesis was also on the same topic, entrepreneurship with heredity, and then I continued doing my research and made it into a profitable, sustainable business with them. My motivation is actually that I'm a Kumaoni. My brand name is also Kumaokant. So because I'm from the same region, and hemp is the only resource which is like used locally in the local culture as a food, as a culinary resource. So a lot of my learnings in terms of the product development has been from my maternal side as well. My mom used to use hemp seeds in the cooking. So it's a local resource for us, and I wanted to take this culture and take this to the world. That's my motivation. Hemp seeds, we only process hemp seed oil out of it. And this oil is also used in the skincare range that we do, like lip balms and face creams and other things. Serum also. Very effective for pigmentation. Then we have hemp seed flour, which is very good in protein content. More than 42 grams protein in it, in 100 gram packing, and also rich in omega-3, 6, 9. It's a superfood. Then one product is also hemp hearts. Hemp hearts is basically the inside kernel of hemp seeds. It's in the shape of hearts. It's a really rich in omega-3, 6, 9 resource for people, and it's super tasty. You can add it to your breakfast. You can also grind it to make a white sauce pasta gravy. So you can use it like a white sauce.
So do you have different varieties of what is that?
These are some local teas then. It's called nettle.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very good for, iron deficient people. Anemia.
Okay.
It's very effective. It's again another crop. So whenever Paharis or Kumaoni people or Uttarakhandi people, they will always, hemp and nettle will always go together. It's called nettle. It's again very good. You can make paper, fiber, everything out of that.
Track. All spread are made by hems. This cloth also made by hems from machines, and this is local mats.
Thank you.
Payment apps have transformed the way we manage money, offering convenience, speed, and accessibility for transactions. But let's be real. These apps are more than just tools. They're part of our everyday lives. Whether you're splitting the dinner bill with friends, buying your morning coffee, or sending money to family abroad, these apps aim to make it all seamless and stress-free. But that's not always the case.
With mobile technology on the rise and more people moving away from cash, there's now a wide range of payment apps out there, each designed to do something specific. Peer-to-peer payment apps like PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App make it easy to send money to friends and family. And apps like these are growing in popularity. Nearly 3/4 of U.S. consumers used these types of payment apps in 2023, according to the Atlanta Federal Reserve. That's a big jump from 68% in 2022. And it's not just for the occasional payment. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimated the total amount being paid through these apps quadrupled between 2018 and 2022, with younger Americans leading the charge. For many, using payment apps is a more simple solution when compared to a traditional bank account. But is it safe? One of the biggest dangers is payment apps typically don't offer the same level of consumer protection as traditional banks.
Here are 4 reasons why bank accounts are safer than payment apps like Venmo or Cash Apps. The FDIC does not insure these payment apps, so that means if one of them goes out of business tomorrow, you are not guaranteed to get your money back. And it takes 3 days to transfer money to your bank account. So if an unexpected bill comes up, you're going to need to instantly transfer it and pay a fee. Using these apps means you're missing out on earning interest, so put your money in a high-yield savings account instead. It's important to transfer your money to your bank account so it can be safe, secured, and insured by the FDIC.
Unlike banks, which are usually insured by the FDIC, payment apps may not have the same guarantees for your funds. If there is a problem, such as fraud, an unauthorized transaction, or a company goes out of business, getting your money back can be more difficult. That's what happened in 2023 with fintech company Synapse. The company partnered with startups to become their middleman in the financial system. They provided the infrastructure and technology so startups didn't have to build their own banking systems from scratch. And it worked until the company started having money problems and abruptly shut down. 100,000 Americans with about $265 million in deposits were locked out of their accounts.
Effectively 100,000 Americans who've been customers of fintech apps with names like Yada, Juno, and Copper, have been locked out of their main banking accounts for 2 months, really since early May. And that's because of, and we don't have to get too deep into this, but there's a financial sort of middleman called Synapse that basically blew up. It went into bankruptcy in early May, in April-May timeframe, and as a result, they shut down some of the systems that connected a lot of these fintech apps with the partner banks that actually help them offer things like checking accounts and debit cards. And as a result, you've just had people really suffering for the past 2 months, suffering mostly in silence, because they haven't been able to do things like pay their bills, pay their mortgages, and they've been forced to borrow money from friends and family to essentially live. For me, the implications of this collapse are pretty far-reaching because what it says about the fintech model. And the fintech model is, we are not a bank, but we partner with banks. Mm-hmm. And so even though that, these fintech apps that have been, seized up are relatively lower tier in terms of their name recognition, the essential model is really followed by folks like Chime, even PayPal and Cash App. They are not banks, but they partner with banks.
Money stored in non-bank payment apps is not usually protected by the FDIC, even if they claim to be FDIC insured, because not all of the money is stored in a bank or credit union account. Instead, the payment app may invest your money in loans and bonds or other means so they can earn more money, even though they don't give you any interest if they make more money, and you're still on the hook if their investments don't work out. Currently, FDIC insurance does not protect against the insolvency or bankruptcy of a non-bank company, but efforts are underway to change that. The Synapse collapse has prompted key members of the U.S. Congress to call for banking reform. The FDIC has proposed deposit insurance record-keeping rules for third-party accounts. Also, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has finalized a rule to supervise big non-bank companies that run digital payment and wallet apps with more than 50 million transactions a year, making sure they follow the same federal laws as banks and credit unions. It's all about protecting consumer privacy, preventing fraud, and stopping unfair account freezes or closures.
When using payment apps throughout your day, consider this. Payment apps are like digital cash, easy to use, quick for transactions, and great for everyday purchases or sending money to people you know, like friends and family. Still, it's important to use them safely and be aware of potential risks, like scams, unauthorized transactions, and unexpected bankruptcies to keep your money secure.
The Eclipse Museum in Western Uganda is an important historical site that draws tourists and helps local development. UNN Field Messenger Arinetwe Jacqueline takes us on a tour of this unique museum.
Hello, I'm Arinetwe Jacqueline, UNN Field Messenger, reporting from Western Uganda, Mbarara City. Today I'm reporting from the Harwe town, one of the towns in Western Uganda. I found a very interesting story about the historical museum where it is believed the sun meets the moon, what we call eclipse, and it is on top of this hill where I am. As you can see, as you enter here, as you approach the gate, there are two statues, two men standing, holding spears and the shield. Here in our culture, in Banyankore, which are called Banyankore tribe in Western Uganda, we believe in defense. These people are soldiers. They are guards on the gate, and the spear is a sign of strength, and the shield. And inside it, there is this big sign with a moon on top. It's a round circle which represents a moon and the sun meeting together. And on these stones, there are historical events written there on these stones. It is a very interesting place where tourists come to see eclipse, and even other people around this place. It was like a bush area, but when this historical thing was discovered, eclipse was discovered, that the moon meets the sun here, you can see around a town of Harwe is developed, and there are good hotels around this area. Thank you for watching. UNN News Reporter, Arinetwe Jacqueline.
UNN is changing the face of news. Join us for our weekly Field Messenger meetings and learn how you can make a difference. Visit unitednetwork.earth for more information. Thanks for watching.